The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Space Innovation Challenge informational webinar. My name is Laura Murphy and I will be your MC today. And I'm joined here with Jonathan Yakisha, who's the Senior Manager of Open Innovation Programs at TechConnect. And we are thrilled to bring you this challenge and to share more about it so that you can apply and bring your innovation to the table and hopefully have some successful connections and maybe even a prize award at the end of it. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that and, also answer any questions that you have about, what may be best practices, or if you don't understand some of the nuance of the application or any of the steps along the way. We're happy to dig in on that with you. And we'll also speak a bit about scope. Jonathan is going to share a bit about what exactly we're looking for, what we might not be looking for, and of course, answer any questions you have related to the technical aspect of the challenge. Speaking of questions, instead of speaking them out loud, we're going to have you enter them in the questions panel of the GoToWebinar control panel. So on the right side of your screen, you'll see a little area that says questions. Please feel free to ask them there at any time. And when we finish sharing our presentation, which is pretty brief, then we're happy to get to those. And any that we don't get to today, we will follow up with and be sure everyone feels like they got the answers they needed coming out of this. We're really appreciative that you're joining and taking the time today. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and then Jonathan's going to jump in a little while, and we will take you through a little bit about the challenge itself. So what are we doing? So for the first time, the Space Innovation Challenge is going to accelerate the commercialization and transition of in-space technologies. And Jonathan's going to speak a little bit more about the scope of that, with that project. But this challenge is brought to us by Advanced Technology International, a division of which TechConnect is running this program, and that's who Jonathan and I are affiliated with, and we're really excited to be bringing it to you today. We want to help commercialize space technologies, and we have a number of really strong partners that will sit on a review panel to be able to judge the innovations that make it to the finalist round, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But they'll also be reviewing the technologies that come in at the application phase. So not those judges, but other judges that are also, looking at space technologies and that work in this area. We'll be reviewing the initial applicants, and all technologies will end up getting put into an opportunity report that we'll share with partners who are looking in this space for innovations. And so we're hoping to commercialize really strong innovations, and we hope that you'll be part of that with us. So this is a timeline. The application is due September 15th. So if you haven't gotten yours in, you have a little bit of time. It's a pretty straightforward form. It shouldn't take more than, half an hour or so to complete, maybe significantly less than that if you already have applied for similar things before, or you have some ready responses. If this is one of your first sort of pitch events or applications to this sort of thing, then it might take you about 30 minutes, but it's pretty succinct. You can find that on the website. And then in early-ish October, we'll notify finalists so that you can make plans to make a trek to Washington, D.C. for the November 28th finalist pitch event and the awards. And then from there, we'll actually distribute the funds affiliated with the awards in early December. So it's a really quick turnaround, and this is sort of how the timeline will work out. So I mentioned a pitch event. If you apply to the challenge, a small number of those who apply, a select few, will become finalists, and they will be invited by TechConnect for a pitch at the Washington D.C. event this fall, which is Defense TechConnect. You'll each receive 5 minutes to pitch, and then you get 2 minutes of Q&A, which is entertained by a review panel. And so a total of about 7 minutes on stage. And immediately following the pitches that day, the review panelists will gather. They will have completed some score sheets. We'll run through the score sheets. We'll also take some subjective conversation into account and deliberate on site in the pitch room, and then announce the winners right there. So there's no long delay or anything. You find out right away if you're a winner. But the advantage of the pitch event also for finalists is just a chance to engage with the review panel. So we'll talk a little bit about who's on that in a second, but it's a really good opportunity to put yourself in front of folks who work in this space, who are, be able to maybe create a strong partnership with you directly or make a connection. I've seen a lot of pitch events where startups or early stage companies get up to do their presentation, and they receive on the spot in the room someone saying, hey, have you met this person? I think you'd be a really great fit to work with them, or suggest a partnership or a route for them from the review panel directly. So there's a lot of routes. Even if you don't win funding, if you're not one of the final 5, then you can still benefit greatly from the pitch event. And if you aren't in the pitch event, if you don't make it to the finalist round, or you're not able to present as a finalist on that day, we do include you in an opportunity report that's shared. And so you're still kind of included in a summary of the challenge itself that can go out to our partners. So that's another good opportunity that comes from it. So about the prizes. We're going to award a total of $50,000 of non-dilutive funding. So there are no strings attached. We're not taking any equity. We're not asking you to promise us anything in return. And they'll be given to up to 5 recipients. And so we're looking at 5 $10,000 prizes, with one of the prizes allocated for an HBCU or MSI originated applicant. So we've earmarked one of those 5 for an applicant from one of those types of organizations. And as I mentioned, in addition, you have a few other incentives, like getting to network with the review panel, networking opportunities with industry primes and venture experts during the conference itself. Some of those people are on the panel. Some of them will be roaming the halls. We have other similar space-related programming that's going to be taking place at the Defense TechConnect. The Entrepreneurs Challenge, which is a NASA-run, almost $700,000 prize, will be taking place at the at the Defense TechConnect event, and so you'll be able to witness that and meet those partners in that room and see those innovations. We also co-locate with the SBIR STTR Innovation Conference. They do lots of quick briefings. You get a really good sense of what they're looking for. You can do speed dating to meet them at their pavilion. So they have some other great programming you can follow. So if you're interested in funding through that route, you get a chance to see that. We also do corporate speed dating. So when you visit the Expo Theater, there will be certain allocated times when we have corporate, I guess you could call them scouts, but folks from corporations who are looking for early stage innovation, and they sit down really just like speed dating in person, and you walk up. You have a set time limit. I think we typically put a couple of minutes on that 2-minute time limit, and you get a chance to engage with them face to face and give them your spiel and see what they're looking for and tell them what you need. And so maybe start up a partnership and start something for a future connection. And then other mentors throughout the industry, the opportunity to become a finalist also comes with, becoming part of our network. Having us get to know you is an opportunity for us to make connections as well. So if there are folks that we think or you think might be a good fit, we'll do what we can to help plug you in. So some criteria for success, or I should say some things that we look at specifically: value and impact. Obviously, what difference will your innovation make? Readiness, I think less so. We're not looking for a specific TRL, but more importantly, we're looking for you to be aware of the application of your technology, given its stage of readiness, an understanding of the funding and what you need to commercialize it or make it applicable later, and also understanding what partnerships you need right now, what will help take you to the next level, understanding your place in the pipeline, and having a clear picture and vision for what that future looks like for you. Scalability, can we grow the scope and scale of your innovation? While it's neat to have something very niche, we want to be sure that it plugs in and has applicability. Financial viability, can this work financially? It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. We'll have some folks in the room who represent ventures and who specifically look at that sort of thing as well. And pitch quality. Can you convey your message in a succinct and clear way, especially given a time frame that is a little bit limited? So we know there's much to say on your particular innovation, and hopefully this is only an entree into what's down the road, that we can get to know you a little bit better, or that the partners that hopefully work with you get to know you a little bit better after your pitch. So making sure you come to the table with a very clear presentation. Here is an early list of review panelists. We do expect to have a couple more, but I can't announce them quite yet. These folks are confirmed to be on site and in the room reviewing the pitches at the pitch event in November. So we have Apex, Amazon Web Services, Blue Origin, International Space Station National Lab, Lockheed Martin, and Raytheon. And then I'll hand over the mic to Jonathan, who will speak a little bit more about the technical focus areas. So JJ, go ahead.
Great, thanks, Laura. As Laura said, my name is Jonathan Yaksha. I'm the Senior Manager for Open Innovation Programs. Talk to you a little bit the next couple of slides here about what areas are in scope for the Space Innovation Challenge. So you've got a couple of groupings right there on your screen. First off, health tech and biotech. Are you doing something within either health tech or biotech that has a space component to it? Maybe you're developing something in space for use by astronauts. Maybe you're taking a space developed technology and adapting it for use here on Earth. That would be in scope. The next two are in-space capability providers. So first off, advanced materials and manufacturing. So looking at ISAM applications here. So, are you using your technology to create something new on orbit? Are you using your technology to maybe get rid of some of that stuff in orbit that we don't exactly want there because it's causing problems for everybody else? Staying with the in-space capability providers, stations and facilities. So talking about launch vehicles, excuse me, crewed stations, or maybe you're going in a slightly different direction and you've got a robotically controlled facility that could be launched up into space and experiments could be conducted or materials could be made on your non-crewed station. That could be something of interest as well. Laura, next slide, please. Thanks. Here, another three groupings. Next generation hardware for space observation, monitoring, and sensing. So kind of a range of suggestions here, and they are suggestions ranging from monitoring the health of an individual satellite or maybe a component on a satellite to sensors for monitoring how a constellation of satellites is performing, or maybe you're monitoring orbital debris and tracking it and identifying it. That could be in scope as well. Or if you're going really big scale, maybe you're flipping those sensors around and you are doing Earth observation, maybe for environmental monitoring, maybe it's for tracking of ships and transportation. That would all be within scope here. The next two are focused on data, specifically space-related data, which is kind of fitting considering it's the Space Innovation Challenge. So have you figured out new ways that you can manage data in space? Transferring it, disseminating it, using it together for new operations and new insights. That would be within scope for operational data management. And then utilization of it, geolocation, tagging, tracking, location, that's all within scope. You may have noticed that I went through some of these relatively quickly, and there's a couple of key takeaways that I hope you'll have here. First off, this is not intended to be an extensive and exhaustive list of technologies that would be in scope for the Space Innovation Challenge. These focus areas are ones that are either currently active or of interest to the space innovation community, and that's why we're targeting them. However, if you are doing something different within the space economy, something that doesn't really fall within those categories, we would still love to hear from you. So definitely submit a response to the project. The other takeaways here that I want you to keep in mind, number one, your technology could be used, or it does not have to be exclusively for a private or public sector use. If it's got both, fantastic. If it's just on one or the other, that is still of interest. Likewise, as you can see from some of the items, bullet points, excuse me, on this particular slide, there is potential applicability for civilian as well as Department of Defense usage. So you do not have to be exclusively one or the other. There is a broad range of technologies that we would be interested in hearing about through this challenge. Really, the main through line that you want to keep an eye on is, are you doing something in space, or are you making use of some aspect of space for your technology? And if you fit within that really broad constraint, we definitely want to hear from you. And if you've got questions about it, we want to hear from you as well. That's what Laura and I are here for today. Laura?
Yes, perfect segue. Our biggest concern today is to answer your questions. And so we hope that we've provided a general overview of how to approach the challenge, when you need to apply, what we're looking for, who the reviewers will be, what it's going to be like in the room. But if we've left anything out or we can provide more clarity, we would really love to do that. So please go ahead and put any questions you have in the control panel, and we'll get to as many of those as we can right now, and use whatever time you need going forward to answer those until the end of the webinar. So as I mentioned, the application deadline is September 15th, not too long from now. But it's a pretty straightforward form. It's not too onerous, so we hope that you'll take the time to take a look at that. And you can begin your journey at this website here, space-innovation-challenge.techconnectventures.com. So I'll go ahead and dive into the questions we have now as you formulate any that you have. So the first one is Michael. Michael asks, will it be possible as a finalist to pitch it online, or is it only offered or only in person? We do not offer online pitching as an option for the Space Innovation Challenge. You do need to go ahead and attend the event in order to conduct your pitch. And there are a few reasons for that, but I would say that the biggest one is that the award dollars are only a part of the story. And certainly, I would say at least as great a benefit, if not greater, is the community that's there. We're really working on building that commercialization pipeline and helping you achieve the next stage in the commercialization journey. So while a prize could be part of it, we do really want you to have the opportunity, and we want finalists who make it to have the seriousness of being able to get in that room and make those connections with not only the reviewers, but the other attendees. You know, it's a room full of people who are interested in this space. Many of them are investors themselves, funders. They may be looking for partnering opportunities as well. And so other innovators that you could collaborate with. And so it's really important to us that that piece of the puzzle is in place. All right, Jonathan, this one's for you from Chi, who asked, I see that the challenge has main themes such as health tech and biotech in space, and so on. At the same time, these themes include specific sub-themes. If our technology matches the theme but not the sub-theme, do you think it's wise to submit our technology?
Short answer, yes. Longer answer, absolutely yes. Slightly longer than that, the sub-bullets are really meant to be suggestive rather than prescriptive. So if you are within that broad bullet of health tech and biotech, for example, but your particular technology doesn't really align with those sub-bullets, that is entirely okay. Like I said, the main through line is, are you doing something interesting with your technology, either in space or making use of something in space? That would still be in scope. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Another scope question is from Joseph, who asks, does health tech biotech include drug development programs?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. See my previous about yes and slightly longer, absolutely yes.
Okay, great. I have another one from Ruveda, who asks also about the online platform. I'm afraid that's not an option. Hopefully I answered your question about that. I also have a question about international applicants. Are they welcome? Can international applicants join? Yes, they can. This is not a challenge with funding tied to U.S. only applicants. So you absolutely are welcome to apply, become a finalist, and win funding if you're international. Okay, let's see here. All right, Jonathan Tall asks, my small aerospace engineering firm has a universal avionics interface adapter that enables plug and play integration of satellite subsystems, hot swapping hardware even in orbit. Could this be relevant?
Yeah, absolutely. There's two aspects that I'll highlight there. One is the modularity. That is definitely of interest to civilian and DoD representatives to be able to hot swap components like that. So yes. The other aspect, being able to do that for a space application, sure, absolutely. You're right, it doesn't fit within those 6 broad buckets, but the response form does give you the flexibility to indicate that you are specializing in an area outside of those 6 broad buckets. But yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Let's see. Anna Heat asks, what if the product has preliminary data, but just now for the context of space travel? Will such an application be considered weak?
When you're building your response, you're telling the reviewers a story about your technology, what it is, what it currently can do, and what you envision it can do in the future. So the fact that you are maybe a little earlier stage than other respondents, if you can tell a good story about what you want to do and how you're going to get there, that can still be a very strong narrative. When you're building your response, think about the questions you would want someone to answer if you were a reviewer for that particular technology. Tell them about where you are right now, what you're doing to achieve more, what you need to do in the future, and how you're going to go about doing that. Tell them a good, compelling story. Make them want to learn more about your technology.
All right.
Hope that helps.
Yeah, and also if we answer a question and we aren't able to fully give you the response you're looking for, you still have more questions, feel free to let me know that in the questions panel or ask follow-up. We have a question from Mitch that says, we are at TRL4 with a structural ultracapacitor energy storage technology. Are we too advanced for this challenge? I'll go ahead and let you answer that, JJ.
I would say no. There is not a specific minimum TRL level. Likewise, there is no specific maximum TRL level. The advantage here with the current state of readiness for your technologies, you're going to have a better sense of where the technology is right now. Previous question about an earlier stage technology, they're going to be able to talk about what they want to do with their technology and how they're going to achieve it. You, with a slightly more advanced technology, are going to be able to tell more about this is what we are doing right now. It's a different narrative, but it can still be a strong narrative. So no, I would not say that you're too advanced for participating in this. If you are a finalist, you're going to be in the room with a variety of experts. Laura had that slide up previously, who are going to be looking for technology of all stripes and all different maturities. On the one hand, an earlier stage technology could be interesting because if there is somebody that can collaborate with you, maybe they can help you develop it. If it's a more mature technology, well, then that means that an end user might be able to get to it faster. So there are advantages to both.
Yep, excellent point. And we have a couple of questions here related to development level. I'll go ahead and get to the ones that might be a little out of the bounds of that response, but I think
Sure.
that hopefully that helps everyone as you're thinking about your placement. Trevor asks or says, we're a finalist in the NASA Entrepreneurs Competition. Will the presentations for the two be at different times? So first, congratulations. I hope that you do well in that competition as well. And secondly, no, they are not at the same time. They are at different times. You can compete in both. All right, we've been asked a couple of times about how many finalists will be invited to DC to pitch for the 5 prizes. We don't have a set hard and fast number, but I would say that on average that lands no greater than 20. Often it's less than that. So if that gives you a sense, probably closer to 15. Jonathan, does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I was going to say it was probably going to be in that ballpark. When you think about it individually, a presentation doesn't last that long, but when you stack them up end to end to end, and you build in a little bit of transition time from one presenter to the next, in that 15 to 20-ish range, you're still looking at a good chunk of time over the course of the day.
Yeah. And we typically like to fall at a natural break there whenever we're having reviews of applications. Sometimes we do have to be more aggressive in landing at that final number because it's just there's too many great ones to be able to fit in. But typically it's at a natural break, which is why I don't have a set number for you, but hopefully that gives a sense. She asks, does the technique of improving the astronauts' PPEs match the scope of this challenge, Jonathan?
Yeah, I would say that it could. Yeah, you're definitely dealing with an aspect of health tech. You're preserving the astronauts' health. So yes, you've got the in-space component. So yeah, yeah, I would say that would be a potentially interesting application. Yeah.
Okay, great. If patents are held in the area for innovation, is this a relevant point to highlight in the submission? That's a question from Tom. Tom, if you have a chance to highlight that, I do think that's interesting. And I also think it could be interesting to share in your presentation without going and spending too much time on it, letting the reviewers know that, that you have patents to protect certain areas of your innovation is always helpful. That said, we always are sure to let you know we don't want anything confidential in the application. We don't think, if you don't feel you should present it to the outside world or to us, then please don't. So please don't include anything that you need to be kept, secret or whatnot. Please provide us with only information that you feel comfortable in a public forum sharing. And so as long as your information falls in that bound, you should be A-okay. Connor says, specifically for the application form, there's a question regarding the organization. Does that mean we have to already be incorporated? You could be very early stage research level, not necessarily a startup or a company at this point, and still win funding. I would say that will be much less common. I don't know that while all things are welcome, idea phase or, not yet developed into a company may be a less common approach, but you do not have to be incorporated to win a prize. Okay, we have a question from Shanjana. Can finalists of the 2022 Reef Innovation Challenge reapply for this opportunity? And this person said, it's nice to see you again. Probably Jonathan, Jonathan ran that innovation, the Reef Starter Challenge.
Yep.
I think that's for you. But yes, you can reapply, and we would love to see how things have grown for you since then.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's see. We have a comment from Jacques. It says, I have participated and won a challenge. Congratulations. The networking opportunities are the best part of the events. 5 minutes is not a lot of time and you will be cut off. Be prepared and focus on value. I think that could not be better said. I'm glad we have an outside perspective. We do bring out the cane, so to speak, and pull you off stage because we have to respect everyone's time. And it sounds like you've heard it from a winner here. Focus on value and be prepared.
The other thing that I'll add in there, TechConnect does a number of conferences throughout the year. We had our summer event and we had a pitch event that came off of a challenge very much like this one. And one of the sponsors stayed in the room after the program was done, and she was in there, and I'm not kidding, for about maybe 2.5 hours after the challenge was done, talking to the finalists, getting to hear more about what they were saying, what they were doing, how they might collaborate together. So the people that are on site, whether they are the evaluators, whether they are other finalists, whether they're other space economy companies who are there to just hear the presentations, you're going to have the opportunity to talk to all of them as much as you can over the course of the conference. So the value of being there on site, the value of being able to talk to all of these people at length is phenomenal. And the sponsors and the evaluators, they love to talk to the finalists and the presenters. So if you're interested in working in this space, pun intended, please consider applying for this challenge because it will get you in front of those people.
Yep, that's absolutely. I have a few more scope questions for you, Jonathan. So Connor asks,
Go for it.
our innovation is a method for high throughput biomarker testing. It's adaptable with current instruments that are already in space. Is that too niche?
I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to say no. I don't think it's too niche. What I would suggest to you is, because it is relatively niche, talk about, there's a couple of different ways you could go when you're building your response. You can talk about the advantages of your particular technology in that particular setting for that particular use case, and how your technology meets or exceeds the performance of alternatives. That could be an interesting way to go. If you see potential applicability in other use cases, but maybe you haven't explored those yet, that could be something interesting to consider as well. It really goes down to what kind of good, compelling story can you tell about your technology? Yes, you have to make it interesting and accessible, but you've got to put forth a story that makes the review panelists that are looking at the submissions. The analogy is that I like to use is, you want them to want the sequel. You want them to know more about what you're doing. You want them to say, we have to invite this person to the presentation, to the pitch presentation.
All right, great. We have a question on scope from Eleni, who asks, is there any interest or need for services that optimize team innovation in the ecosystem you're building? For example, coaching, innovation building, that kind of thing.
That, I think, would probably be outside the scope of the challenge. We're really focused on space technology and space adjacent technology. Team building, while absolutely important, doesn't really fit within the bounds of the challenge. So I would say probably not.
Okay. Another one is from Michael, who said, do you need sensors on exact applications, or can we present unique sensors with physical qualities in general, which your judges will know or will suggest to apply in different space applications?
I think you could go about it either way. If you've got a specific purpose-built sensor, you could go that route and talk about the sensor you have developed and how it performs versus competitors for that particular application. Conversely, if you've got a sensor that could be used for multiple different applications, and it's not really intended for just one application, you could talk about the general performance of your sensor and talk about what you see as maybe the strongest use cases for that sensor. When you're building your response, give some thought to how your technology could be used for those different use cases. Yes, the review panel is going to be staffed by knowledgeable individuals from top-notch companies and organizations, but we want to see that you have given some thought to how that technology could be used. Yes, it's great to say, hey, we've got this wonderful new sensor and it can do all of these kinds of things, but if you don't talk about where you see it fitting into the space economy and the use cases for that technology, well, then that isn't a particularly compelling case because, well, great, what do you want to do with that technology? Give that some thought.
Okay. We have time for a couple more questions here, so we'll keep going. If you have others, please put them in the question panel. We're happy to answer them. Pat asked, how mature are you looking for? Are we looking at things that are TRL7? Are you looking more for things that can be flight demoed within a year? And I would say to you, Pat, because Jonathan has spoken a bit and you may have already gotten your question answered, but just in case about scope and in terms of the development level, we are really open. There's not a specific cutoff. I would say that in order to receive funding, in order to receive a prize from this, there's not a cutoff. And I think that more importantly is to think about the partners in the room, each of them and people in the audience that we may not even yet be aware of who could be there. We'll be looking for different things. So you definitely are in scope, and it's not that one level of advancement or another is necessarily going to take the day. It depends a lot on the applications that a potential partner could be looking for. So just more importantly, having real awareness of what your needs are and how you're going to take the next steps in that journey to commercialize the technology or to get it, active in space or working. So I think depending on where you are in your journey, all those levels are fine. We're not saying you need to be up an atom within a year. That's definitely not a requirement. And you could be very early stage as well, but just having a sense of what partners make sense for you, where are you in your development, what are the tools you need next, what's next for you in the commercialization journey, and having a real awareness of that will help you, because there could be partners of all different shapes and sizes in the room, and you'll be in a position to speak to what you need and tap into those particular people. Jonathan, do you have any additional thoughts on that? Or
No, I mean, I think you summarized it really nicely. A technology that is commercially available or nearly so, it is obviously great. But if you're doing something that everybody else is doing, well, that's not quite so innovative. But if you're a little earlier stage, and you're doing something that's really novel and cool, well, that could be interesting too. So it really depends on the totality of what it is that you are proposing here.
Yep. And I have a couple of questions, a number of them related to receiving the presentation or a recorded version of this so you could share it beyond. So we are recording our conversation now, and it will be available on the challenge webpage. So again, going to spaceinnovationchallenge.techconnectventures.com. There's also a page off of the Defense TechConnect website, so you can access it any of two ways, and the video will be posted in both places. So you can access that probably, I would say, by end of week, definitely at the very latest by Monday. So if you'd like to tap into that, we would encourage you to visit the website after the fact. And final question is from Jason. What happens to the 5 winners after the pitch in DC? It's a great question. And I think the answer to that is we write them a check, and then that money gets into their account. But then, you know, thinking a little bit in a little bit of a softer way, we also hope that they're able to have follow-up conversations from the people who they meet in the room, who see them present and see them win, specifically review panelists who obviously had a great interest in them because they named them winners. But all of those things are sort of subject to what happens on site and the kinds of conversations that take place, and where those things go. We are certainly happy to make email introductions, phone introductions, what have you, to the review panelists themselves, but most of that will happen on site. So you'll have a pretty good sense of where things are headed when you walk out of the conference. And I think that is all today. So Jonathan, if you don't have any further comments, then I think we will tell everyone thank you and have a good afternoon.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that I'll add is obviously our contact information is up there on the screen. If you have questions about the Space Innovation Challenge, please absolutely feel free to reach out to us. As Laura said, it's the purpose of this was to get you more information about the challenge. So if you've got questions after today's webinar, please reach out and we'll do our best to get you the information that you're after.
Yep, that's right. So apply by September 15th. We look forward to seeing what you bring to the table and meeting you in person. Have a good day.
All right, thanks everybody.